Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Maxi here once again, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of Luigi's Mansion 2, aka Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon for the Nintendo 3DS/Nintendo Switch, because we are playing through Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. So, you get the idea for this point. So, last time, we essentially did manage to complete the second mission in Gloomy Manor. That's what appears to be Mission A-2, which is Gear Up, by collecting 4 of those gear parts, and as a result, we've once again managed to capture some even more ghosts, including Greenies, Gold Greenie, and as well as the forms of slammers. So, everything else checks out there, and I was really darn close to able to get myself the 3-star medal, but I suppose beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Maybe I might try to get it off screen, but it really doesn't matter too much to the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, today for this video is that we're going to be continuing things on and move on to the next mission in Gloomy Manor, and that's what appears to be Mission A-3. Quiet Place. Something tells me about the fact that it may look like there might be something going on in Gloomy Manor. So either way, and relatively speaking, I was about the fact that, well, first of all, I think EGAD was going to tell us something about the fact that we do need to activate the mechanism to try to activate something that is very important for the progressioning for, you know, Gloomy Manor. So it looks like, as you can tell, that EGAD somehow did something, which, as you can tell, he did somehow manage to place 4 of those gears into one particular crank. So I suppose no matter what though, we definitely need to head back into Foyer, and that way we can now able to actually do anything for able to place that particular crank, and relatively speaking now, we can now able to proceed into some even more rooms in Journey Forms of in Gloomy Manor. So anyways though, a few things I want to talk about is about the fact that, well, today's date, of course, there is the 16th of August today, in some cases in 2024 today, and recently today, though, is about the fact that, yes, indeed, the next Maximus Cup is on live for the likes of Tetris 99, and it looks like it's now on to the 42nd Maximus Cup, and as far as what Ray the Flying Squirrel has already mentioned about this since in yesterday, that it looks like it's now time for Splatoon 3 Side Order theme. So relatively speaking now, if you want to check that out, then by all means you can able to participate for, you know what I mean, trying to go for that particular theme if you wanted to, but either way, entirely up to you, I guess. So either way, there's also another thing it's worth mentioning for, actually, is about the fact that I did somehow manage to find this a little bit too surprising, actually, that it looks like we actually got ourselves our brand new look of Black Doom from the likes of Sonic Cross Shadow Generations game, and let me tell you, it looks a lot more cooler than any forms of how it does it back in 2005 from the likes of Shadow the Hedgehog. And relatively speaking though, there's one thing I totally forgot to mention about this, actually, during the course of the whenever we go back onto the forms of the next few missions on the likes of Luigi's Mansion 2, as far as this is concerned, that as you can tell, sometimes certain cutscenes might randomly plays out, and are you kidding me? Oh jeez, we somehow got interrupted by EGAD while we grabbing a lot of cash from that particular object, as we somehow checked earlier. So, oh well, no big deal. Besides, we can able to actually keep on collecting more money, so that's obviously a good thing, especially concerning for the fact that if there might be something is usually up there, and if you try to, like, blow it out, basically though, you get yourselves another gem. So, pretty cool to notice this, especially concerning for the fact that, well, we can't normally do that on, let's just say in Mission 1, as well as Mission 2 in Gloomy Manor, so I suppose that's all I can really think about it. So, anyways though, so yeah, apart from those side things though, is about the fact that there's also another thing is worth mentioning for, that a lot of people out there, for those if you ever able to check out Snow White's new teaser trailer, that just somehow came up ever since about a couple of days ago. Yeah, I will admit though, I do honestly agree that that film, it looks even terrible, especially concerning not only for its controversial actor choice for the likes of Snow White, but it's also about the fact that why does every single dwarf have to be in CGI form, rather than like having you know, reality people as costumes or something. I mean, generally speaking, though, it's one of those stupid design choices as far as, you know what I'm talking about the fact that we are still basically done every single aspect when it comes to seeing live-action movies on screen, when it comes to made by Disney itself. I mean, that's just... I don't know about you, because relatively speaking, I'm sure about the fact that Ray the Flying Squirrel has already mentioned about this ever since in, you know, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening Switch remake, so I don't feel like talking about that ever again, especially concerning for the fact that I'm just basically tired about the films of those live-action movies made from Disney of all things. Not only for its original films, but also with, you know, remake classic films into reality as part of real people, and you name the rest. So, and also, as far as I'm aware, a lot of people also is not overly keen on Toy Story 5 somehow, but generally speaking, it's probably because of one thing, is that for whatever reason, Woody decides able to actually just to make its return, despite the fact that, well, I'm probably not going to mention any, details about the films of the previous film, Toy Story 4, and relatively speaking, it's just about the fact that I just don't understand why they come up with that decision to able to bring back Woody in the whole gang. So, and I suppose the actual main premise of Toy Story 5 looks a bit promising, especially concerning for the fact that it may look like they're going on to a different approach when it comes to the films of the actual main premise of the films of Toy Story 5. And what do I mean by that? Well, basically, it's toys versus technology, and because of that, though, relatively speaking, I was about the fact that they did mention about the plot will be involved, that toys are fighting against technology, and would also involve an army of 50 Buzz Lightyear toys controlled by computers. In addition to that, Mechana Jen Harris will be a co-direct of the film, so yeah, that's what I can really say about it. Again, my expectations might be a little bit lower as far as the films of other, like, films are coming out, as far as 2026, as far as this is concerned. I mean, relatively speaking, we'll find out more about it until when it gets to the point until by the end of 2025, to able to actually just to realize about the fact that, oh, there's another gold greenie right there, so hopefully I should able to try to get him, which I already did. So, and yeah, something's worth noting for is that much like Speedy Spirit, if you don't try to able to actually do a stroll bulb right at the forms of green, well, let's just say gold greenie, basically though is about the fact that he will run away like crazy shenanigans. So, just like the forms of how it does it for Speedy Spirit for sure, and relatively speaking though, everything else will be come to expect if you pretty much know what to do for this point. So, and it looks like, actually as it turns out, is about the fact that we didn't actually get to hear the main Gloomy Manor theme, which I suppose something tells me about the fact that we should probably go ahead and... oh, there's another golden bone, so that'll be pretty useful, especially not only we can able to obtain more gold, but also about the fact that, again, I'll discuss more about the forms of the gold bone item until if we get into certain later missions, including some of the most toughest missions I've ever had to face, especially concerning for the fact that I've already experienced this game before on the original 3DS version. So because of that though, but again, that particular topic can wait. So anyway, let's see what's beyond in here. Although for the most part though, it's about the fact that if you've already explored the other rooms before, then you feel right at home basically. Except the fact that we have to force able to go into a different objectives. So in fact, we can't do anything during the forms of some other bits for right now, until, to be more specifically, the next mission after this. So, but then again, we're probably not going to mention any details about this just yet. So anyway, let's just go ahead and open up the store here just to see if there's any gold around here, which I don't suppose they do not contain that particular money or treasure to be found, unlike the forms of how it does it on mission 2. So, relatively speaking, there's nothing else we can do at this point, so, including the lab as well. So I suppose no matter what though, is about the fact that, well, you probably get the idea of how the mission structure in this game actually plays out to be. So, anyways though, I could possibly able to actually try to explain something else for that matter, but let's just place the crank with the gears. Well, it looks like we somehow lowered down the massive fish tank, so naturally we can now able to actually go back upstairs, and naturally we can now able to explore into even more rooms. So this means it also includes with the forms of not only we can able to encounter let's just say for the most part that we might able to stumble across into ourselves not only certain greenies, but also with the forms of certain slammers as well occasionally. So anyway, I don't think there's anything else we can do up here, because obviously that is about the fact that the main focus of this particular mission is that we need to make our way to, presumably, to the library or something. So anyway, let's go ahead and just, actually, let me just go ahead and try to do this, so that way I can able to actually guarantee to get myself, well, some gold bars. So that way, it allows me to able to get myself a good old 3-star rank, depending if I did pretty well on this mission. So anyway, so let's go ahead and get rid of this slammer here, even though we might as well get only coins for this point. So, oh well, no big deal. So that particular room right there, as we're entering right now, it will be important until for later missions to come, which is especially noticeable concerning for the fact that, well, yeah, it's probably best to save that particular topic until next week for some time. So anyways, let's go for this door. And now we ended up in a library, which means something is about to happen in here. So, oh, and something's worth noting for, potentially speaking though, is about the fact that there's also another set of differences between with the final version of the game of Luigi's Mansion 2, or Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, for those of you who lived in North America. And usually, relatively speaking though, compared that to the E3 2011 version of that particular demo, that you can only traverse into the library until you basically decide able to go for that particular door once you get upstairs or something like that. So relatively speaking though, in the final version of the game, on the other hand, I think you're able to actually just do like, well, mind you about the fact it's kind of hard for me to explain certain aspects at this point, because relatively speaking though, it's been about 2 days ago since I actually have last played this game in particular, on the Switch version most likely. So anyways, let's go ahead and just obtain some more coins underneath this particular dining table, but of course we do need to get rid of this little tablecloth, and exponentially we can able to get more hearts, just in case. Sometimes though is about the fact I feel like whenever I first got to this mission, I seemed able to actually got myself lucky to able to get myself the glorious 3-star ranking. And also there's another gem right up there on that particular ceiling where the fact that where that particular vault was located. So anyway though, so let's get back into the subject though, where it comes to things as what's been happening. Well, like what Ray the Flying Squirrel has already mentioned about this ever since in yesterday though, it is seriously, it's so unfortunate that one of those English dub voice actors called Rachel Willis, I think is what it says anyway, and relatively speaking though, is about the fact that she passed away. And relatively speaking though, she was 46 years old, and relatively speaking though, that is, you know, it is pretty sad, you know, especially concerning for the fact that, well, you know, she's one of the greatest actors in the Pokemon anime. And it's also worth noting for, speaking of something anime related, that I've realized about the fact that the Japanese version of Sonic X, specifically the original Japanese episodes of Sonic X, has been published onto the TMS Entertainment's YouTube channel. And the reason being for this is because, well, suffice to say, happy 60th anniversary of the actual TMS Entertainment. So yeah, that seems pretty cool though, especially concerning for the fact that, well, I honestly have no words to say, especially concerning for the fact that despite the fact that it does manage to contain this out of nowhere curse word in the Japanese version of Sonic X, usually for instance in episode 2, where Sonic was trying to rescue Cream, the rabbit, and as a result Sonic did say a strong language in the Japanese version, whilst in the English dub, somehow the dialogue has been replaced by Cream, hang on, as opposed to that little strong word which I'm probably not going to mention about. So yeah, you get the idea what I was going to be talking about in comparison for the sake of the forms of not only the English dub, but as well as the Japanese dub. So anyway, let's go and get rid of these greenies. Yeah, every once in a while though is about the fact that several of Ghosts likes able to actually do some bit of armory equipped. So because of that though, I'm not a big fan of Ghosts that you have to able to try to capture while they trying to able to actually got their armor equipped, because there might be a couple of times that you might get hit very easily sometimes. So anyway, so there's the next gem, and by doing so is that, as you can tell, we opened up the fridge from earlier, and as you can tell, inside the fridge, it does contain a gem, but it's all frozen. So in order to do that, you have to bring the frozen gem all the way up to this fire bit on the oven, and as a result, that way you can get the gem that way. Well, it may look like this is technically like the first boss encounter we might able to stumble across into in this game. Mind you, it's technically the sub-boss, by the way. And this particular ghost is actually named Poltergeist. So, yeah, I'm not joking why I'm saying this. That's the actual name of that particular sub-boss we're about to be face off against. So, yeah, Poltergeist. So, still, pretty strange name, especially concerning for the fact that in Journey Forms of an E3 2011 demo, I think that was the only boss encounter you might able to come across into in that particular demo. Although, mind you, about the fact that the biggest differences between the E3 2011 version compared to the final version, if you couldn't tell, that Poltergeist did somehow have 50 HP on the final version of the game, whilst compared to E3 2011 version, if I recall correctly, it was like 75 HP or something like that. Mind you, it has been a while since I actually have last looked back on E3 2011 trailer for Luigi's Mansion 2. So, relatively speaking, I was just about the fact that back into what I was saying about the forms about how Luigi's Mansion 2 that I was basically excited about when it comes to doing the Let's Play. And on top of all that stuff though, with my expectations, is that you probably already know about the fact that I love Luigi's Mansion 1. Like the gameplay and atmosphere, as well as the entire replayability, despite how short the game is. I'm never getting sick of playing it. In fact, every time when Halloween decides to come by, I obviously attempt able to play Luigi's Mansion 1 for almost every single Halloweens in Journey Forms of each and every single years. And when I was pretty much stoked when the sequel was announced back in 2011 in E3 2011, and I did not expect it was going to be on the 3DS rather than on the Wii U, because relatively speaking about the fact that, wow, again, you probably get the idea about the fact that my expectations of Luigi's Mansion 2 sometimes feels a bit high, and other times though it does bring up some bit of glowing issues whenever we get to later missions to come. So anyway though, and every once in a while though, as soon as you're able to try to deal with the only one Poltergeist we did somehow already taken care of, well, apparently though, there's two more Poltergeists that we do need to take care of. And luckily though, every time if you do manage to able to suck up the Poltergeist to begin with, not only are you able to actually get some more treasure, of course, like the coins and all that stuff, but every time if you do manage to finish them off, you actually get yourself some even more hearts back, just in case about the fact that you will tend to get hit a lot in this particular sub-boss, but when you get the down of it though, then this sub-boss is actually not too shabby. So anyway, and as soon as we're done with that, well, suffice to say, the mission ends. So, yeah, pretty swell. And there's also another thing worth mentioning for, is about the fact that when it comes to forms of, let's just say what's been going on as well, that out of nowhere, that Rotten Tomatoes did somehow receive the new film, which appears to be Borderlands the movie, which obviously that film is based off from the Borderlands games. Basically though, out of nowhere, Rotten Tomatoes, as far as critic scores alike, receives the film in a massive negativity with 0% out of 100%. I know for the fact that I've been looking up ever since in Journey Forms have been last Thursday, but I haven't seen that particular more scores has been increased since then. So because of that though, yeah, I've got nothing else to add. And speaking of which though, it's about the fact that I also found out that Brawlhalla was also going to be getting the Borderlands crossover as well. So because of that though, And speaking of crossovers though, it's about the fact that it may look like that Five Nights at Freddy's is about to be getting a crossover with Dead by Daylight until summer 2025. So yeah, that's something. And also, speaking of which though, I did find out that one of those characters in Borderlands the movie, that out of nowhere, Blackjack is going to be voicing. I'm not joking when I'm saying this. Blackjack, he did voice Claptrap. So yeah, I was not expecting that, especially concerning for the fact that until next year, that Jack Black will able to actually voice Steve from the likes of in Minecraft. So relatively speaking, I'm still curious to check that film out. So relatively speaking, it's just about the fact that again, we'll have to wait until specifically in 2025. So anyways though, so it may look like, oh, there's also the one last thing I want to mention about is that yes indeed, we're now entering the halfway point in terms of the forms of August in 2024 already, before we move on to the 9th month, which appears to be, well, September. Gee, I can't even believe that the time of the day just goes by really fast. So, probably the final thing I want to say about the forms of today's discussion actually is that recently though, LP Master 6, he's now basically onto the next new Let's Play, which appears to be Banjo-Kazooie. So even though specifically on the Nintendo 64 version. So yeah, kudos to, well, doing that particular game. So anyway, suffice to say for this point, folks, is that we're getting things off this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Luigi's Mansion 2, aka Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, is that we're going to be moving on to the next mission in Gloomy Manor, and that's what appears to be Visual Tricks. So yeah, I'll see you guys until on Monday. Later, fellas.